Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're back at the spot, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, the responses are never dull, and we can get a good massage, some good herbs, and also have our book recorded audibly, all by our guest today, Nina Price. I'm excited about this because what I tell people all the time, what is all the rave right now, Brains, is Audible. People want things that are downloadable, that are accessible, that they can listen to in their car, when they're riding their bikes, when they are pushing their kids in the stroller. They don't have to be visually attached. Plus, the amount of downloads that you can get is much more cost efficient sometimes than actually printing the book. And time. People's time is valuable. For them to sit back and cuddle up with a book the way that they used to is a novelty. But then after you finish that, you can roll over and have a massage therapist work you out. That's one of my favorite things. And clean your system out with some good herbs, as well as some acupuncture. So we're going to talk to Nina Price about all of that. Help me welcome her to the edge. How are you, Miss Nina?
I'm great.
Yeah?
It's a beautiful Monday morning, and you know what you were saying about audiobooks and being easy to listen to and all of that good stuff. You can do it while you're working out. But some of us, and I'm including myself in this, really prefer to listen to books rather than read them because I want to multitask. I want to be making beds and cleaning stuff and
Mm-hmm.
doing all the stuff that I hate to do while I'm listening to a book. And the book is great. People say that they love to take them on long car trips because it's something the whole family or everybody in the car can listen to, and then you can talk about it, and that's really always a good time.
It is, but also, the voice inflection. It's a lot of work to recreate someone's body of work that was in text audibly. You have to get into that person's head. You've got to, again, catch the voice inflections, the different nuances, the pitches, really kind of get into the character. You have to read the entire book more than once. You have to work with the author to really get them what they need, and you make sure that everybody's satisfied. How do you go through that? That's pretty daunting task.
Oh, it's fun. I'll talk about a couple of authors I've worked with really closely. Some authors are just very hands off, just make it happen. And then they'll listen at the end and they'll say, oh, that was great. You know, go ahead. And some want to be really involved. And the ones who want to be involved, I ask them a lot of questions. I want to know, you know, what were you thinking? What was this about? And I've read everything from nonfiction to fiction, fiction to nonfiction, memoirs. I have one gentleman I work with who's written several memoirs, one about his grandfather, one about his grandmother, and one about an older woman who was a friend of the family. And I did the last two, the grandmother and the friend of the family. And these were older German women. And I auditioned for this book, and I'm telling you, I channeled his grandmother when I auditioned for the book. I
Mm.
just knew who she was. I knew how to bring her to life. And then, as I found out more and more about the family, we realized that there were paths crossing. In the second book I did, the lady who was the featured person whose memoir, well, the story was mostly about her, lived in the neighborhood I grew up in. And some of the scenes actually take place where I grew up. And so I can see the whole thing very vividly. I've been there myself. So it was really wonderful. And that author and I have become really good friends in the process because we do have a lot in common, and we just met through doing these books. It was a very heartfelt thing. When he presented the second book to me, we were on Facebook, and he goes, "You ready to do another book?" And I said, "Sure, for you, absolutely." And I said, "I thought you weren't writing any more books." He said, "Well, it was a shelter in place project." So he finally got around to writing a book he'd thought about for a long time. And he just, he's busy. He didn't have the time. So he wrote the book, and then I just narrated it. It was
Is
really
there
fun.
is there a certain length, certain
Mm-hmm.
amount of pages that you work with, or
Nope. Nope.
wow.
It depends. I've done really short books, that are about an hour or two finished, and I've done longer books. It depends. Of course, a longer book is going to be more costly because typically the author pays per finished hour. So if the book
Per finished hour,
per
because an
finished hour,
editor goes per page or per word. So what is a finished hour? What does that mean?
if well, if there are formulas that you can use to translate number of words to number of hours, and I'm not remembering exactly what they are at the minute, but you can figure out roughly how many finished hours you're going to have. A finished hour is the final hour of edited, produced audio. So, say you have a book that turns out to be 5 or 6 hours. Well, then you would pay for 6 finished hours
Okay.
of
All
audio.
right. Great. Great. So now let me ask another question. I don't know if you know this either. A lot of times I'm a self-published author, but when you work with a publisher, it's difficult. Well, let me go back. If you're self-published, it's very difficult to get a publisher to pick you up because the book has already been touched. Is it easier for a finished book with a publisher to convert into an audiobook? Is there like a problem with the
I
publisher,
don't know if
or is
it's
that a different type of publishing and copyright?
It depends. Um, I like working with self-published authors because then you're dealing directly with the author. And honestly, I prefer to work directly with the author. So let's say you've written a book and it's a piece of nonfiction. Maybe it's about experiences in your life. Maybe it's a memoir. Maybe it's something about your
And
expertise.
I'm sorry, can you turn your audio up just a little bit? You're a little low for me.
Okay, I can do that.
That's
How's that? Is
that's
that better?
beautiful. Oh yeah, that's
All
great.
right. Um, so you've written a book, and the way it works is usually we work through Audible directly. They have a back end where if it's a Kindle book, it's very easy to turn it into an audiobook. You and I make an agreement using their exchange, and I do the work, and at the end you approve it, and then you just pay me, and that's it. That's the way it works. It's pretty
Wow.
simple. I've worked other ways and I don't always find that they're better. What's nice about working through Audible is you get stats on how the book is doing. I get stats on how the book is doing, and then they pay us. And that's the way it works.
Oh
As
wow.
people buy the books, they just send you a check every month. So I've done over 50 books. So every month I get a check.
That's amazing. Do you do animation and children's books as well?
Um, I haven't for Audible. I have done some projects on the side. Yes.
Because what's really big now, Brains, is gamification.
Sure.
And when people are putting these online programs together, that is a key element in keeping people engaged and them going all the way through your program. Because, they want some bells and whistles. They want to get some balloons. They go off. They want to collect
Sure. We all
tokens or
do.
cookies or whatever. So that's really good. But adding that with the Audible is really, really interactive. And that's what people want. They want a lot of interaction. Are you also a writer yourself? Have you written any books?
I have. I have. I've written several books and about topics that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. But yeah, I have. I live in the Silicon Valley, and I was really concerned, and this was many years ago, maybe over 10 years ago, about how ageism was showing up in the workplace and how people were being systematically phased out. And I saw this and wrote about it. And there were people in parts of the country when I did book tours and stuff, and it was like, well, this isn't the case here. But it's just gotten worse here. And I think by now everybody in the US knows about it.
Well, it is, but you know what I found? It depends on the genre of work and what actual job you're applying for. Because if you're looking, Generation X, Z, millennials, they're futuristic. Number one, they don't want to be in the office. They want to be able to work remotely. They want to be able to have creative input. They want life and work balance. Absolutely. They want to have some fun, gamification. It's a whole different mindset. Where you have the traditional worker like you and I, that you don't have to tell us what to do. You give us an assignment and we're critical thinkers. We are going to go in and try to make it happen. We are individual contributors to the workplace. We have a certain discipline. We have a certain work ethic. That's not that the millennials don't, but it's different. And so the expectation is different and the dollar amount is different because older people, like women, do not put a value or put a price on their talent and their skills. Did you come across that?
Yes and no. I mean, I was a corporate professional. I was speaking as someone who had been in management in local corporations. So it was a different mindset. But what I will say is I love working at home. And I've been working at home now for close to 20 years, and I wouldn't do anything else at this point.
Me either. I don't remember the last time I put on some stockings and heels or tights and heels and walked into an office. I would just be dumbfounded. And it's a lot, and especially with COVID has really isolated a lot of people. They've given them options and choices to be able to work from home, but it's also disassociated a lot of people with dealing with one another and working with colleagues and working with coworkers and reporting directly to your manager, all of these type of things. What has COVID done for you and taught you during this time of isolation, Nina?
Oh, lots. Well, as I said, I work at home and I love working at home. So for me, that wasn't any different. I was working at home, but a lot of my business wasn't happening because the audiobook stuff was happening. I was doing a lot of narrating, a lot of work, but in my healthcare practice, people weren't coming because they weren't. So one of the decisions that I made was I realized that I needed to be able to diagnose and treat people remotely. And so I've been retraining to do that. I'm training to be a medical intuitive at the moment, and I'm having a blast doing that. So that's the next time you and I talk, we'll be talking about that.
Medical intuitive. Break us off. Let us know, what is a medical intuitive?
A medical intuitive is someone whom you would consult. I'll paint the picture. One of my daughters got COVID, and she was really, really, really sick, and was having trouble getting better. And I was concerned about it. I had sent her some suggestions and some herbals and so on, and she just wasn't getting better as fast as she wanted to. So I had her consult with a woman who is a licensed practitioner, as I am, and a graduate of the program that I'm in now. The woman got on a meeting with her. I don't know if it was just voice or if it was Zoom, just like you and I are. She had a conversation with her. And at the end of the conversation, she made some recommendations, and she also did some remote healing work. 4 days later, my daughter went back to work and she was fine.
Wow. But everybody doesn't have that gift. And you have to be careful, because if you are on medication, if you have some deep, dark illness, you want to be really careful about, shying away from that and moving into something different. It's always of value to research it, because again, you don't know what will become of it. But what type of person would really find value in working with you? Because it's not going to be everybody, Nina.
Well, it's usually self-selecting. What's really interesting is that since COVID, I've had a lot of new people show up in my practice, and guess what? They're completely different than the people I was serving before, and they're a
Mm.
lot more open to it. So I think the right people are energetically coming, and people are coming back. The other day, a client I hadn't seen for many years came back, and she's so into what I'm up to right now. She's back with both feet. So it's really interesting to see how some of this is evolving.
Now you're also an herbalist.
I
Tell us
am.
a little bit about herbs, girl. Let me share my stories because brains, y'all know I love to share a story with you about some herbs I took. Had me tripped out. So I go to Beijing, China, and they take you to all the wonderful touristy spots. One of them is a tea shop. Beautiful. They have a tea for everything: beauty, health, digestion, stress, anxiety, all of that. Okay, so I said, I don't know when I'm gonna be back this way. I'll take one of everything.
One of everything, boy.
It was like 5 or 6 different teas. They have a variety pack for the tour.
Okay.
I get home and I have 2 cups of tea. Nina, I was hallucinating.
Oh dear.
I was tripped out. I mean, it wasn't a bad trip, but it was a psychedelic trip. And my husband going, what in the world is wrong with you? And I said, baby, I don't know. I said, all I did was drink some tea. And he goes, well, what kind of tea? I said, well, it was the tea that I had got when I was in Beijing. He said, well, how much did you drink? I had drank 2 mugs full. He says, no. He says, yes. He said, how did they serve it to you? I said, oh, not like that. Because he's traveled the world, Asia a lot. And I said, well, did I overdose on it? He said, well, I just suggest that you just sit here and chillax for a little while. Don't go outside. Don't try to drive. And don't do that again. Herbs are medicine, brains. That is where they derive from, plants. They are very strong. In a lot of countries, that is their medicine. It is directed, from the plant, from the source. So being an herbalist, you need to work with a trained professional like Nina. Someone that knows how to give you the dosage, what's going to work with you, the symptoms. Some of them cause acid reflux, some of them cause diarrhea. I did a colon cleanse one time with some herbs, and it caused a little abscess. Again, if you're not familiar with this, you really need to work with a trained professional.
Yes, you do.
Because
you really do.
and the combination of herbs, you might be taking westernized medicine and take some herbs and there's a conflict. You got to know what you're doing. You can't just go in there and say, okay, just give me this or give me that. Am I right?
That's right. And there's a whole different way of doing diagnosis. So I think that the tea shop was a little bit
It was a tourist trap. Well, it was a tourist trap. And they, you know what I'm saying? They didn't know that I was going to go home and, be a greedy one and have big mugs full. I guess they assumed that I was going to drink it just like they served it in a small, maybe 1 ounce, 2 ounce.
Right.
Oh, I got a 6, 8 ounce, and I did 2 of those. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was on one.
Everything big in this country.
Oh yeah, that's what we oversize. We supersize everything. So I don't know if I have to take responsibility. That's why I'm trying to warn my brains is that, be careful about this because it's no joke. It can stop your heart. It can, cause blood clots, make your blood thin. It's a lot of, things that could happen. Right, Nina?
Well, you need to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Sure. So what's interesting is that in China, you're either an herb doctor or you're an acupuncturist. In California, in order to pass boards, you have to be both. So when I went to acupuncture school, we had to learn over 300 herbs by heart. You have to know what they do, know how to use them, know a whole lot of things about them. And then you need to know how to combine them into what we call formulas, which is like a combination of herbs. So this combination of herbs A does this. This other combination of herbs does that. But it may be different for some people. In other words, I could give you and the woman sitting next to you the same formula, and it wouldn't work for one of you because your whole body is different, the way your body works. So think about catching a cold. We all catch a cold differently. We have different symptoms. And thank goodness most of us haven't had a cold in a while since since COVID, at least.
Right, right. But it's cold and flu season.
Exactly. So when you catch a cold, what I'm going to do as an herbalist and as an acupuncturist is I'm going to ask you for very specific symptoms. Do you have a sore throat? Do you feel a little warm? Do you feel achy? Do you have chills or fever? Do you what's the color of the phlegm that you're
Mhm.
experiencing? Are you coughing? I'm going to ask all those questions. And based on everything you tell me, I'm going to recommend a particular set of herbs or formula. Now, personally, in the United States, I tend to do what they would do in China with teas. I tend to do it in capsules because we're used to taking pills in this country more than we are used to drinking teas.
Mhm.
And they're just as effective. It's easier for people in my practice, particularly, to take a pill rather, or take a set of pills rather than
Do they?
drink
Because
the
you know,
tea.
well, and then the tea absorbs into your bloodstream a lot quicker
It does. That's correct. That is correct.
than the capsules because it has
Yes,
to dissolve and go through the digestive system.
that's correct. That is correct. And when we were in school, when I was in acupuncture school, we made teas for people. And I've seen some really miraculous things happen in my own personal experience. I mean, I remember I had bronchitis one time. I mean, I had bronchitis and I just couldn't get rid of it. And I finally just threw up my hands and I went to school and I said to my teacher, help. And she said, you're really very sick, but I know what to do. So she gave me a treatment, an acupuncture treatment, and she made me a big tea. And I went home, I drank the tea for 3 days. I came back, I had another treatment. And during that treatment, all of a sudden, I felt something flip in my body.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
I was fine after that.
mhm.
But that's often the way it works. And for us, when we were in school, they really encouraged us to use the facility of the school and the teachers to learn because, of course, when you have your own personal experience with it, it's much more powerful than if you just learn it in the book.
Absolutely. You've got a testimonial.
Absolutely. So in Chinese medicine, it's very individualized. If I'm treating you, I might not give you the same formula that I might give to my next client.
Mhm.
And she might have similar symptoms, but the way her body manifests it is telling me different things.
Mhm.
So she might have a cold and you might have a cold, but you might have a different kind of cold than she
Right,
has. So
right.
you would get
And it
one
might
formula.
attack different parts of the body, respiratory,
Exactly.
or, building up phlegm and mucus and all that. So I totally get it. So now I want to talk about two things real quick. I want to talk a little bit about the magic of acupuncture. I dig it. I've had it. I've had it several times. I got a kink in my hip sometime. Girl, and she put those needles in. Brains, it doesn't hurt. So if you're afraid of needles, don't even worry about it. They are so thin, and they put them in. And if they get it in and it sticks and it hurts, they have a special way of turning it and adjusting it so you don't feel anything. But when it's over with, I've got to come home and take a nap. Really, I really feel that my whole body has been stimulated or adjusted. I don't try to do anything extraneous after that. I really kind of let my body settle into that. But my acupuncturist burns something, I think it's called
Moxa. Hmm.
Moxa, and she burns that on top of the needles. What is the benefit of that
Good
for my brain?
question.
I know.
So moxa is mugwort, and it's kind of stinky. It is to warm. So in acupuncture, warm and cold, internal and external, um, there are a lot of different parameters that we look at when we diagnose. They're different than Western diagnosis. It's really interesting. In acupuncture school, you have to learn Western diagnosis, but you also have to learn Chinese diagnosis. In fact, I took this class, which was great. We had a Western MD and then a Chinese MD as the teachers in the class. And we'd have clients come in with fairly significant illnesses, and we would diagnose it both ways and we would treat it both ways, which was really interesting. And we learned a tremendous lot about both Western
I
and
know
Chinese
because when
medicine.
I went to China, my driver said, tomorrow you need to go to the clinic. And I was like, I didn't come here and my insurance is not going to pay for no medical diagnosis or treatment in China. I'm not taking medicine. I don't know what's going on. Here I am, a Black woman. I'm not even among my tribe here. I'm confused. I'm concerned. He said, don't worry, don't worry. It's part of your destiny. They checked my liver, my kidney, and my spleen right here in my wrist, brains. They looked at my eyes and they made me stick out my tongue. They looked at the side of the tongue to see the ridges there, to see the color of it. And it was like a fortune teller. He looked at my past. He told me where I was and he projected what would possibly happen in the future. And he was on the money. He was on the money. And I was like, this is amazing. Minimally invasive. I didn't have to go under anesthesia to give him a colonoscopy for him to know what was going on with my colon. I didn't
Exactly.
have
No blood tests.
no blood test to know what was going on with my blood. Now, again, it's different. And they specialize in this. They've been doing it for centuries. But it was truly, truly amazing. So to always visit a Chinese herbalist or even a school, because that's what I went to, a school of Oriental medicine here. They're teaching these students, and so they need people like you and I to come in so that they have someone to work on. And they're under the instruction of a master teacher, and it has really, really been phenomenal. I want to touch on one more thing: the art of touch. Once upon a time, I was going to be a massage therapist, and I got to thinking, nah. And I'll tell you why. There was a little boy that sat in a chair, and I used to do cosmetics, and there was this product that we had called Peace of Mind. And he was very anxious, very anxious. And so I got in the chair and I asked his mom, can I, give him a light massage and some aromatherapy and all that? She says, yes. I could see, actually, I could really see how his whole body shifted, his mind shifted, his energies. He went from here down to here. And then the next thing he just kind of like, and I was like, oh Lord, I hope I didn't touch something wrong. His whole body just relaxed. His mother said that he hadn't been that relaxed in weeks. There was a change of energy in me though. I was a little bit more amped up. I was a little bit more excited. I felt the exchange of energy. So that kind of deterred me. Also, people are not respectful. Take a shower and wash your feet before you go see your massage person, because they don't do it. They just unrobe and just think that it's okay. But also what it does, like I said, to you as the facilitator, you're taking on that energy. So my question to you is, as you were giving massages or continue to give massages to people, how do you cleanse yourself from
Good question.
all of the toxins that you take on? Because there is an intense exchange of energy.
Well, good question. So, in the training that I'm doing now, the intuitive medicine training, we've learned how to protect ourselves energetically, how to create energetic boundaries so that we're not taking on other people's energies. And as a massage therapist, you do learn how to do it. I mean, actually, in my case, nobody ever taught me, but somehow I think the spirit of self preservation was such that I taught myself how to keep other people's energies out of my system. And I've learned now how to remove them when they get in. During COVID, it's been really interesting. So I'm more sensitive to other people's energy at this point in time, as many people are. And I think during COVID, I've been really careful to protect myself and to cleanse, to really clear things out. During COVID, like last spring, I had to serve on a jury and I went to court for a whole week. I actually wasn't selected for jury service, but I had to go to court because the process was so long during COVID. And when I came home after that experience, I felt like I'd been bombarded with other people's energy. And so I took
Icky.
I took some time and I just cleansed out my system energetically so that I wasn't feeling so overwhelmed. So I would say one thing is be aware of other people's energy and be aware of not taking it on and of creating. I can teach you ways that you can keep your energy for yourself and separate yourself from other people's energies in a very healthy and healing way so that everyone benefits at the end. So I think
Well,
that's a huge issue and it's really important.
yeah, what I do is I take a few deep breaths before I start. I center myself. I set my intention. I ask for healing for that person, and I ask that I don't receive anything that is not valuable to me. I always burn some sage, because, or a nice burn offering to the gods to carry my wishes, my dreams, and also clear that area, but also to ground myself afterwards and let that energy drain out of me. I got great hands, and Mr. Magnificent is spoiled rotten because he's the only person that I massage, but I can put you out, in a minute. But it's allowing yourself to relax. Brains, you have no idea. And I do understand that a lot of people have anxiety about touch. Maybe they've been violated before. Maybe they don't feel comfortable being naked or partially naked in front of someone. Maybe they don't know what to expect. But let me tell you, it is off the chain. It releases so much. I can feel when I have a good therapist, a good massage therapist, I can feel the toxins coming out on my tongue. I can feel it when they hit a certain point. You can feel how it just breaks up and disseminates through the body. If you have a good one, they know how to work it all the way out. I got a massage therapist. She pulls my hair, and baby, she get an extra $10 tip just because she pulls the hair, okay, and cracks the toes. Reflexology is great if you're not into full body massage. Acupressure is great. Acupuncture is good. Reiki is amazing. Your energy moving and you don't have to remove your clothes. It's a whole different mind trip within itself. But all of these modalities are ways to release you and to relax you. And then after you're relaxed, you go home and you listen to a good audiobook. Thank you so much, Nina, for being here on the edge with me. You are a superstar. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you. I want them to work with you. Brains, if you got a book out there, and audio is the business. Cut your costs in half, the downloads, you don't have to ship. And you got someone that's going to listen to your book. You can pause it, go back, rewind it. It's amazing. Really, really, if nothing else, have a consultation with Nina about your book.
I'd love it.
Okay. To talk doesn't cost you anything. Exactly. And you would be surprised of how much revenue that both of you could probably generate from doing an audiobook. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, beautiful.
Thank you. Email nprice123@gmail.com. So nprice123@gmail.com. You can even phone me 650-424-8783. Both ways work. My website for my practice, ninaprice.com. My website for audiobooks, ninapricevo.com.
We're going to put that at the back of the interview, brains, here on the edge, because I want you to have everything. When I say everything, the world is a big old oyster, and it's just asking you to pick a pearl. Okay, so I want you to go in. I want you to publish your book. I want you to get it in an audio version. I want you to get a good massage. I want you to look into some alternative healings when it comes to acupuncture or acupressure, and just really kind of understand what it is that you're ingesting in herbs, how to clean your system out, how to have a healthy gut, because I'm telling you, if you got a healthy gut, you're halfway there.
That's true.
So thank you so much again, Nina. You are a rock star and you are a multi-layered woman, and I really appreciate you and value you. And I want people to get on board.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure to be your guest anytime, April.
All right, brains. Get yourself together. Now, I gave you everything that you need, instructions. Oh, one more thing. I need you to like, love, share, and subscribe. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so that you can be up to date and current with everything that is going on here on the edge. Thank you so much, Nina. Come back and see me real soon, baby.
All right. Take care. Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Brains.